Hi, this is Eric Smith. Time to do another quick look video, and I thought I would do it from Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 31. And the word of God reads this way: The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests rule by their own power, and my people love to have it so, but what will you do in the end? In chapter 5 of Jeremiah, the prophet is proclaiming judgment on the nation of Israel. Listen, the minor prophets and even the major prophets in the Old Testament were always proclaiming judgment because the nation of Israel was doing wrong. Even when they were divided in northern and southern kingdoms, they were constantly telling them the things that they were doing wrong. And in verse 31, the last verse of this chapter, we have a breakdown of the three groups of people that are doing things wrong. We have the prophets, we have the priests, and we have the people that were supposed to be represented by the prophets and the priests. So let's look at the first part of this verse. It says, the prophets prophesy falsely. Prophets are supposed to do what? Represent God to the people. So the prophets are going to tell you, this is a word from the Lord for you to hear. It's something for you to obey, or it's a prophecy of something that's going to come. But it says the prophets prophesy falsely, which means they're lying. They're saying they're getting this word from God, but it's not coming from God. It's either their own imagination, it could be a demon, it could be a combination of both, but they were deceitful. And the people would listen to the prophets because they thought it was coming from God, but these prophets were prophesying falsely. Then the second part says, and the priests rule by their own power. Now, this is wickedness in and of itself, because a priest has no power of his own. The priest intercedes and represents for the people to God. So the priests were always coming to God to intercede for the people. But here it says they have their own power. So they were usurping their own power. They were about themselves. That's exactly what they were doing. But then the third part of the verse is the saddest part of all. And it says, and my people, notice God is calling the nation of Israel his people. He chose them. He says, and my people love to have it so. It says they love to have the prophets prophesy falsely. They love to have the priests have rule over them. But there's the question, but what will you do in the end? What's going to happen when you follow after false prophets and priests that are about themselves? You love these things, they're wickedness, but what's the end of it going to be? Dear Christian, we can read this about the nation of Israel, and we can read about all the things that they were, embracing, and that they were loving, and that they were enjoying, even though it was against God. And we have to ask ourselves, do we do the same thing in the churches today? Are we falling for people that call themselves prophets? Are we falling for people that are acting like they're priests? Are we loving the things that they are doing and the things that they are talking about, though they don't represent God? Just like the nation of Israel shouldn't have been doing that, today as Christians, we shouldn't be doing that as well. We should be understanding that we need to follow the Lord, follow his word, and we shouldn't be following false prophets, people that call themselves priests, and we shouldn't be loving anything that is against God and that's wicked and that's a lie. And that's what these people were doing. So this was Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 31. I just wanted to do a quick look to remind you, Christian, that the Old Testament was written for our example. We see examples of things going on in the Old Testament that we should avoid. And this verse talks about something we really should avoid. We should avoid leadership that's leading you astray, leading you away from God instead of leading you to God. As always, if the videos on this channel have encouraged your Christian walk and edified you in any way whatsoever, but you have not subscribed to my channel yet and you want to, hit the button. If you want to leave any comments, please do so, but please don't be snarky. Please do not be profane. We want to be Christ-like in everything we say and do as Christians. And until we do another quick look, remember Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 31. Remember what the people were doing that was wrong. They were following the prophets that were what? False prophets. And they were following the priests that were what? Full of themselves and full of their own power. But the people were loving it. And because they were loving it, the consequences of it would be devastating because God would judge it. We need to remember that in the churches today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and God bless.